Change so that you can afford food and housing. Change so that you can live on a safe street. Change to put Canada first. Change is what we need now more than ever. Change offers the prospect of restoring the Canadian promise, the promise that hard work gives you a great life in a beautiful, affordable house on a safe street, protected by our brave troops under our proud flag. That is the Canadian promise. That is the promise the country made to me and to my wife Anna. It's the promise that it made to countless generations who came before us. It is that promise that makes us so proud to be Canadians. It is the promise that we all owe to the next generation, and is the promise that it is my purpose in politics to restore.
Just shut up. You had me at hello.
But after the lost Liberal decade, that promise is broken. Everything costs more. Seniors are choosing between heating and eating. Young people have given up on ever owning a home for the first time in the history of our country. Crime is raging out of control. Immigration has been broken by Liberal policies that grew population at a rate 3 times faster than our housing stock, crowding out homes, health care, and jobs. For 3 Liberal terms, Canada has had the worst GDP per capita of any country in the G7. Much of that while Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. And the OECD forecasts that Canada will have the worst economic growth out of all of its roughly 40 nations for the next 30 years. Now, you have to take into consideration the context in which we're announcing this platform for a change. Just Saturday, Mark Carney announced that not only will he keep all of Justin Trudeau's reckless spending, he will add $130 billion more. Spending that will drive costs higher for food, housing, and everything else. Spending that will risk our economy and threaten our future. It's not that Mark Carney is as bad as Justin Trudeau. He's far more costly. We also learned from media reports that the Carney platform was already written for Justin Trudeau. So Mr. Carney has the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal platform, and you will get the same disastrous Liberal results. And it is a very dangerous future if the Liberals get their 4th term. And this isn't just my words. It's Mark Carney's own government department. Just a week ago, we learned that one of the departments of the government, the Privy Council office, has made some very depressing predictions about the way the country is headed after a decade of Liberal rule. I'm going to quote directly from this Privy Council report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada, they predict. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts, and many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. And then there's some specific forecasts that the current Liberal government is making about our future. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. The report goes on to say that people may lose faith in the Canadian project altogether. It forecasts that many will leave the country to avoid this rising cost and declining opportunity. And they believe that it will lead to a mental health crisis. More people will emigrate to jurisdictions where they believe upward mobility and or higher standards of living are easier to obtain. Quote, if young workers leave Canada, it may become harder to pay for the systems that support a growing number of older people. It says things are so bad that, and this is a quote, I'm quoting from the government here, if I had said this myself, you would have thought it was outlandish, but this is the government's own predictions about how bad things are headed right now. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways because they can't afford groceries anymore. This isn't my prediction. This is where the country is headed if we continue down the Liberal track. It sounds incredible, something from the post-apocalyptic TV show like Fallout or The Last of Us, but this is the forecast from Prime Minister Carney's own government department, the Privy Council office. Now, Mr. Carney plans to continue the very policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact, he plans to go even further. $130 billion of additional spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already promised will take the new debt that Liberals are projected to add over the next 4 years to $250 billion of inflationary, cost-driving spending. To pay for it, they'll have to print even more money and hike taxes even higher, with inflation driving up grocery costs, housing, and gas even worse. Just like the last 5 years when he was Trudeau's economic advisor. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose change. We can choose hope. We can choose our future. Our platform at forachange.ca lays out this plan. It is a plan that will lower taxes and debt by getting rid of bureaucracy, consulting fees, waste, and excessive foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy. It is a plan to build homes by removing taxes and bureaucracy. It is a plan for safe streets by locking up criminals for a change. Change to unleash our resources so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to Trump and anyone else from a position of strength. The choice is this: a 4th Liberal term with Mark Carney, whose reckless Liberal plan will add even more debt than Trudeau, or a new Conservative government with a responsible plan to save $125 billion and put us back on the path to growth and security. This is my plan for change. First, we will cut the Liberal deficit by 70% by cutting back on bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies, slashing money for special interests, and unleashing $500 billion of extra economic growth by unlocking the power of our resources and home building. In the past, I've told you that there would be a dollar for dollar law. Every dollar of new spending would need to be matched with a dollar of savings. We've gone even further. Every dollar of new spending in our platform, especially for things like defense, will be met with $1.50 in savings in other areas. We will cut consulting fees that the government pays by $10 billion annually and almost $20 billion over the term. Gradually and through attrition, without mass layoffs, we will wind down the cost of the bureaucracy by hiring back only 2 people for every 3 who voluntarily retire. We'll cut back on foreign aid by roughly 1/3 so that we no longer give money to terrorists, dictators, and global bureaucracy. The money will go to frontline people in need. And we will also pass this spending discipline in law so that going forward, every time a politician or bureaucrat comes up with an idea to spend more money, they will need to find the exact amount or more in savings before the idea will even be considered. This is how single moms, small businesses, and seniors make their decisions. Whenever I spend money, I will think of it as my mother's money, a retired teacher. If she would not be happy with it coming out of her retirement funds, then I should not be happy spending it. Canadians have been pinching their pennies long enough. It's time for government to start pinching pennies as well. We will unleash $500 billion of economic growth, a number certified by the former chief economic analyst of Stats Canada and by a former associate deputy minister. This growth will be the direct result of repealing liberal anti-energy laws, removing bureaucracy that blocks home building, and cutting taxes on investment. This boom in growth will bring in $70 billion of additional revenue, money that we can use to pay for our cherished programs and military without raising taxes on Canadians. Which brings me to my second plank, major plank, to bring an affordable life for a change. A Conservative government understands that a dollar left in the hands of the person who earned it is always better spent than a dollar in the hands of the politician who taxed it. And that is why Conservatives will cut your income tax by 15% to save almost $2,000 for the average working family for a change. Third, we will axe the federal sales tax on new homes up to $1.3 million and pay municipalities to cut their building taxes to knock $100,000 off the price of a new home and build 2.3 million homes for Canadians over the next 5 years. And we want those homes to be in safe neighborhoods so that we will stop the crime for a change. We will lock up violent criminals and bring home safety. We will ensure that anyone convicted of 3 separate violent offenses will no longer ever be eligible for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail, jail, not bail, 3 strikes, and you're out. And we will put our own country first for a change. By repealing anti-resource laws Liberals have used to push us down and push our investment out, we will bring home the $500 billion that the Carney-Trudeau Liberals pushed to the Americans. We will build pipelines, mines, and other major projects. We will use the funds to rebuild our military so that we are a truly sovereign and strong nation that stands on its own 2 feet and stands up to anyone who confronts us. We are a nation that is proud, a nation that will be strong, and a nation that will assert its sovereignty for a change.